This is Ticats Today.
Thanks for checking out Ticats Today, and the Ticats are still off. They won't practice again until next week. Much deserved 10 days off after a big win on Wednesday night against the Ottawa Redblacks. And here to discuss that and tonight's double header to wrap up Week 8, we bring in the Deputy Editor of CFL.ca, Kristina Costabile. And Kristina, it's great to connect with you. Let's go back to Wednesday night's game because it wasn't the prettiest. It was rainy. We were expecting some tough conditions, but the Ticats were able to pull it off.
Yeah, it was interesting going into it. I wasn't sure we were going to see any offense, and I think that I was kind of correct on that one. But I think the main theme that I took from it is how good this Ticats defense has been. They've kind of not necessarily won games for their team, but they've definitely kept them in it. I'm thinking Simone Lawrence with those 2 timely picks in the last few weeks, and then obviously Jamal Roll getting that one in the third quarter when it kind of seemed like Hamilton's sputtering offense was even more sputtering in that third. I don't think they had a first down at all in that third frame. So I really liked the defense out of that one, and I think that is kind of what we were expecting, just based solely on the fact that it was raining like crazy.
Yeah, I mean, they made for some great shots, but I was very happy to be in the comfort of the booth at Tim Hortons Field for the game last night. When you look at, this Ticats team, I mean, last year, Ticats are playing so well. Jeremiah Masoli goes down. Everybody thinks it's the end of the world. Dane Evans comes in and, really runs the table the rest of the way. This year, Masoli goes down. Evans goes down. David Watford steps in. He's now 2-0 as the starting quarterback. What does that say about this Ticats team?
I think it just shows that there's depth. And I also just like the fact that Tommy Condell has kind of changed his offense a little bit to fit David. David's not that guy that's going to really stretch the field too long. They want to play him a little bit more conservative. Obviously, that's kind of where his sweet spot is. He's been that short yardage guy, not only just in Hamilton, but also in Saskatchewan. So I think that it shows the depth, and I think it just shows that next man mentality. I know we always talk about next man up, and it's very cliche, but it's very true. And when you have an organization that has players within it that you're able to just kind of put in whoever and still pull out wins, that's obviously a really good thing.
And we were talking about this, Courtney and I were talking about this on Ticats postgame on Wednesday night, that the veteranness of the room, the Simone Lawrences, the Teddy Laurents, and the guys who have been in the room who are out right now, the guys who are in the meeting rooms, the DeVere Posies, that really can't be understated when it comes to a team that has championship aspirations like this Ticats team does.
Exactly. And it's great that you mentioned DeVere Posey, because it's so funny that I think some of us forget that he's still on this team, and he is that veteran presence. He's won a Grey Cup. He's made those big plays in those big moments. Like we remember when he was with the Argos and he had that long touchdown in the snow. Again, another element game.
In Ottawa too.
yeah. They love the weather over there. But when you have those guys in the locker room, it's invaluable, whether it's just these newer guys, especially in the receiving corps in Hamilton. These are all newer, younger guys. So when they have questions and they want to, work on their routes, watch film, having those guys either at practice on the sideline or in the meeting rooms to be able to answer those questions, it's something that all teams need, and Hamilton has an abundance of that with guys like Posey, even Braylon Addison as well, who we still haven't seen yet this year.
I remember one of my first kind of assignments on the Ticats beat was 2020, a free agency announcing that DeVere Posey was signing with the team. So, I mean, that's 2 years ago now. Still haven't seen him, but We know that he moved from the 6 game to the 1 game. So, we're hoping to see him soon. This Ticats team, they're first in the East going into tonight's games, but they're first in the East right now. They're above 500. They have 5 of their 7 next games at home at Tim Hortons Field, the place they play really well. I mean, there's a lot to be excited about. We mentioned the injuries. Guys are coming back. There's a lot to be excited about with this Ticats team, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. And I think you mentioned Hamilton doesn't play again until next Saturday. So that's a long time, 10 days between games. Who knows who's going to be healthy? Mazzoli, perhaps he'll be ready to roll. And we just mentioned DeVere's only on the 1 game. So there's a lot to be excited. I think once they get those key pieces back on offense, because obviously we know that this defense is very good and they're proving that to everybody. But once they get those pieces back on offense, I just think that the sky's the limit for this team moving forward into the final stretch.
It's been a really sloppy week, basically across Ontario. But if you look at the forecast tonight, it looks like it's supposed to be clear. So it'll be a great night for any CFL fan to get down to BMO Field to see the Argos host the Montreal Alouettes. Big game. I mean, really, you look at where the Alouettes are, you look at what they're trying to do. The Argos, losing to the Ticats, a big win against the Ticats. I mean, this is a big game for both these teams tonight. Let's start, because it's a doubleheader. Let's start with this one, because this seems to have huge implications in the East.
It definitely does. And I feel like there always ends up being a spot in the season where the West has kind of like figured itself out, but the East is always a logjam, it seems. And no one's really out of it. And between those three teams you just mentioned, Hamilton, Montreal, and Toronto, they're so close in the standings. Even if Toronto wins tonight, they could tie Hamilton for first again. So it is definitely a big one. Both of these teams have a lot to prove. I know Montreal is really itching to get back in the win column as well. So it'll be interesting to see what happens for sure.
And then let's talk about the second game, because I feel like maybe BC isn't getting the respect they deserve in the West. Obviously, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are the beasts of the West. We know the best of the West right now. I think the power rankings will have them at number one until anybody comes and knocks them down. But the BC Lions have quietly put together 3 straight wins. Where are they right now? Michael Riley, Performer of the Week in the CFL last week. There's a lot going on in BC.
I really like this BC Lions team this year. I think Michael Riley is finally healthy. I know he was dealing with an elbow issue at the beginning of the season, but by my non-doctor eye, I think he's looking good. And I also really, really, really like their offense. I think they were missing that speed guy that they now have at the receiving core in Lucky Whitehead. So having your reliable, second down guy like, Brian Burnham, and then you have a Lucky Whitehead who can stretch the field, who's leading the league in receiving yards as well, and half of those are coming after the catch. So that's a guy that's catch and running, because he's outrunning every DB on the field. So having an offense like that has been obviously really great in Vancouver with the BC Lions, as well as their defense. I think their defense has been pretty underrated as well this year. They've quietly put up a really great season so far. So there's a lot to be excited about for Lions fans for sure. And they're creeping up. I don't know if they'll catch Winnipeg for first in the East. It's like Winnipeg against everybody. Yeah. But they're definitely vying for that second spot for sure.
And they're doing a great cause tonight. They're doing Orange Shirt Day down at BC Place. It's sold out. And I think, as two people who love the CFL, I mean, that's what we love to see, right? I mean, sold out crowds, especially in a city like Vancouver that is kind of sometimes struggled. I mean, you and I both know if we can get fans in the building, if we can get people in the building, we can turn them into fans. And that being we as in the league, the players, and to get a sold-out building at BC Place in the middle of a pandemic, towards the end of a pandemic, I think can't be understated for how much that team does mean to that city.
Exactly. And for those people who are coming to a first game, you hope that it's going to be a matchup like this Riders Lions game, because you're looking at 2 of the best quarterbacks in the league right now. You're looking at 2 really, really great defenses. And I'm predicting it's going to be an air show. I think both quarterbacks are going to be throwing, and they're going to be throwing a lot of touchdowns, I'm hoping. And so some of those fans that are coming, perhaps it's their first Lions game, will be like, wow, this is a really interesting and fun league. And then they'll stay on board. So I do agree with you there. It's important that we have good product on the field, which we've seen every week so far this season, and it'll just make the fans want to stick around and come back.
Do you think this is a big game for Cody Fajardo? I mean, the Saskatchewan fans, they're passionate. We know that. But, we are hearing reports about him reading social media and getting down on it. I know I've gotten my fair share of negative social media. I know, hard to believe, but I've gotten my fair share of social media criticism. But what do you make of that? And just kind of the way Saskatchewan is, the way they care about their football team. It also seems like Fajardo's got a good head on his shoulders and won't let it get to him.
Well, first of all, I've also had my fair share of social media hate. Now that I'm in the writer picks graphic, I'm like, mute. I don't want to hear it. Please be nice to me. But yeah, I mean, fans are very passionate, and I think that's what makes our league so special. You've probably seen it also in Hamilton as well. And the fans just want to see a winning team. So I think after, Cody had the win last week, he even said in his post game, like, he was pretty down in the dumps, like you had mentioned, but this was a big confidence morale booster. So yes, this is probably a big game for him personally, but I'm sure he would probably tell you this too. It's more of a bigger game for him and his team to kind of, separate themselves from the Lions in the West there.
Well said. It should make for an exciting night of football, doubleheader, Friday night football on the CFL on TSN. Kristina, it's always so great to connect with you. Thank you so much for doing this. We'll have to get you back on very soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Awesome. That is Kristina Costabile. This has been Ticats Today. Thanks for checking us out. We are off for the weekend. We're back on Monday. This has been Ticats Today for the Ticats Audio Network. I'm Louie B. Have a great day.